Here in Connecticut this evening, protesters making their way in Hartford from the Capitol to the Hartford Police Department and then on I-84. All of this playing out while we were live here on the air around 6 p.m. Watch this. We're taking a live look at Hartford on 84 eastbound and westbound as protesters that gathered around 2 p.m. in downtown Hartford made their way to the on and off ramps on the highway, joined with state police. We're hearing that this is a prayer circle. And right now, Trooper, for those who are watching who are not out at a protest right now, but maybe they're sitting in their living room having dinner and they're watching this all play out on their television screens in their living room, talk to me and talk to the people of Connecticut right now about the importance of what we're seeing right now. This prayer circle that's happening in the middle of I-84 westbound with protesters who are angry, want to be heard, and first responders in our state who left their families this morning to go out to work and just try to keep all of these people safe. Talk to me about the importance of what we're witnessing right now.
A cultural change has to be collaborative. We have to work together with the communities, with our leadership, with our troopers, all law enforcement across the board. And this is just one sign that we are willing to work with them.
A peaceful ending there. Kudos to the Connecticut State Police and those protesting for that ending. Earlier today, Commissioner James Ravella spoke about protests.
I was very surprised of the forcefulness in the words that used, but that's not the Connecticut way, is it? And being a police chief in Hartford for 6 years, it's a different way with our community and our community policing, and we want to hear the grievances. We want to assist you when you protest. We want to make sure that you're safe when you do that, and we want to hear your grievances, even if you're grieving us.
Well, we have team coverage of these protests tonight. Fox 61's Dave Puglisi is in New Haven, where the department addressed the widespread demonstrations there. But first, we want to get to Fox 61's Brian Didlake, who was on I-84 when protesters shut down that highway to send a message. Brian?
Ben, there were moments full of frustration and feelings of anger over racial injustice, but appreciation for state troopers who allowed protesters' voices to be heard.
Black Lives Matter! Black Lives Matter!
Walking along Albany Avenue, protesters shouted,
"No justice! No peace!"
Swarming the state capitol, they shared their message demanding change. People from many races and creeds said it's time to band together to change hearts.
I keep seeing people on Facebook say white privilege doesn't exist. Until people understand that, until people understand that there is huge racism in this country and it comes from the top and the bottom and the sides, it's everywhere. And until people understand that, nothing is going to change.
It's for that reason protesters left the Capitol marching yet again on their journey, leading them to the Hartford Police Department. Protesters saying this demonstration shining a light on police brutality nationwide and here in Connecticut.
They see us hurting, and they're tired, and we're all tired. We want change.
We want to plan.
We know we have a long way to go.
Yes.
I acknowledge that, but we are here with you.
Hartford Police Chief Jason Thody, just one of many officials addressing protesters face to face.
I want to hear things, raw. The pain and the frustration, the anger is deep, it's raw, it's long-standing, and we have to not just acknowledge it, continue to try to do the work of getting better, being better right here.
Then, for about 45 minutes, everything stopped. And they're on the highway right now. I'm going to go ahead and get out the way so you can see what's happening behind me. Protesters went onto the highway near exit 48 as protesters sitting and laying down on Interstate 84. An unplanned demonstration that brought the community a bit closer together as state police shut down the highway and then held hands side by side.
We know these protesters, they want to be heard. They want their voice to be heard. They want to talk about their feelings, get their expressions out as well. It's their First Amendment right, and we want to ensure that they are able to do that safely, peacefully.
Which is why just a short time later, protesters left saying they met their goal.
We want this country to be a very great country as it is, because this country groomed us, and we are very excited to work with people, and we want the cops to work with us and understand our pain and stop killing us.
Now, even with acts of aggression being shown across the country, here in Connecticut, it was shown that there can be common ground found between this movement and law enforcement. We're live in Hartford tonight. Brian Ditlake, Fox 61 News.
Brian, thanks. All of these protests taking place in the city of Hartford. Hartford Mayor Luke Bronin joining us live right now. Mayor, thanks for your time tonight.
Thanks, Ben. Good to be with you.
All right, want to start off with your speech outside the Hartford Police Department. You were speaking to a group of angry protesters who were frustrated that they weren't being heard. That same group saying that they had no interest in talking to a legislative leader like yourself. How do you think your message was received?
Look, I just went to listen, but the group asked me to speak, and I spoke from the heart. I think, as I said there today, if you're not heartbroken and disgusted by the murder of George Floyd, you are not a human being. And if you're not angry about it, you're not American. And I wanted to be there in person to listen and to hear, and I think that's important. I'll leave it up to others to talk about how they heard my message, but I just try to speak from the heart.
Mayor, at the same time, you have to stand behind and stand with your police department and Chief Thoty, simultaneously standing beside and with those protesting. Talk to me about that role that you had to play over this past weekend and today.
Look, I think that, first of all, I'm really proud of our community and our city, that the protests have been large and powerful, but also peaceful. And I think that when the protests are peaceful, there's not much of a line to draw there. You know, the protesters are out because they are angry and fatigued and sick and tired of what we have seen in the country for a long, long time, and by the murder of George Floyd. And our officers and our police leadership are horrified by that too. And the protesters are out there asking for policing that is rooted in accountability and transparency and a relationship of respect and trust with our community. And that's those are the values that our department aspires to. And when we fall short, we try to acknowledge it, do better, and hold ourselves accountable.
Mayor, I want to end on this note. There are a whole bunch of people watching the two of us right now who don't live in Hartford. They live all around the state of Connecticut. And before this started, a lot of them probably said that they didn't want to come to Hartford because they don't feel safe in the capital city. Many of those people might be working in Hartford. You live right in the center of the city, as do I. You're not only a mayor, you're a father to young children. Should these people feel safe? Do you feel safe with your kids in the city tonight?
Look, I love this city, and I am so proud of this city. Despite the very, very deep and real anger and frustration, our community came out forcefully to say enough is enough, but to do it as a community united in the goal of moving us forward. And I think that's something that we should all be proud of. But, you know, as a father of 3 kids, I also hope that we as America take this opportunity to try to heal wounds that have existed for a long, long time. And it is deeply disheartening and saddening and scary to see the president and others driving us farther apart. So for the sake of my kids, I hope that this is a time when we can all come together in what should be a unifying mission of building an America and communities across America that come closer to our ideals.
Peaceful and safe so far. Hartford Mayor Luke Bronin. Mayor, thanks for your time tonight, as always. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Ben.
All right, want to move on here tonight. Congresswoman Johanna Hayes speaking out about the protests at the governor's news conference this afternoon. Congresswoman Hayes says that she finds herself in a unique position in regards to this issue. Her husband is a Waterbury police officer.
I am the Congresswoman for this district. I also grew up in Waterbury, educated all of my children here, was born and raised. But first and foremost, I am a mother. You know, my husband is a police officer, but first and foremost, he is a father. And I'm a Black woman and he's a Black man. And the events of the last couple days have been deeply painful.
Well, tonight we continued to see protesters taking to the streets of Bristol demanding justice in the death of George Floyd.
I can't breathe! Black Lives Matter!
Organizers called for a peaceful protest walking down North Main Street there today. Crowds of protesters also gathering in Manchester this afternoon. Those demonstrators standing right in the center of town. Manchester's mayor and Lieutenant Governor Susan Bysowitz also in attendance.
Both of us were part of a community conversation that the mayor of Waterbury held with faith leaders and community leaders and the police department. So we think it's really important. We want these vigils to be peaceful. We don't want anybody to get hurt. But this is a call to action to make sure that we do everything in our power so that everyone is treated fairly.
Protesters there also taking a knee. Continuing our tour around the state here, massive protests in New Haven over the weekend. Those demonstrators blocking Route 34 at one point. Protesters there locked in a tense face-off with New Haven police officers. New video coming to light showing those demonstrators sprayed with mace as they tried to enter the department to speak with the city's mayor. Tonight, community and city officials are vowing that these incidents will not overshadow the hundreds who want their voices to be heard and change for their community. Fox 61's Dave Puglisi joins us live in New Haven with more on that. Dave.
And just 24 hours ago, these steps looked a lot different. And protesters stood here peacefully protesting long into the night. Now, the community and the city stood together in the New Hallville section of the city to once again say that they stand united. And now it's time to act.
We got to act. We have to act. It means nothing if we do these press conferences, if we make vows, if we say we're going to do something. The community wants us to act. And we need to act.
The call to action comes after a day of mostly peaceful protesting in the Elm City.
If you support us, get out of your car. No justice. No peace, Queen.
Several hundred people blocked off I-95, I-91 merge and the Oak Street connector for about 90 minutes. The group then moved to the police department headquarters. They spent the next few hours peacefully protesting on the steps of 1 Union Avenue.
The overwhelming majority of participants have been peaceful, courageous, responsible, and inspiring. They deserve our respect and support, not condemnation.
Around 6 p.m., police say several protesters attempted to forcibly enter the station. A few threw items at the officers. Police in full riot gear resorted to pepper spray to regain control of the line.
And then we just held the line, and it quickly turned peaceful again.
In the early morning hours, New Haven police say there were attacks on their Hill and New Hallville neighborhood substations with Molotov cocktails. They are investigating the incidents.
It's sad that it's going on in this neighborhood because our police officers here in New Hallville are very respectful to us.
We will not allow these acts to come between the work that we intend to do with our community.
All in attendance stressed the importance of working together to build upon the discussions started by the protests that have brought global awareness to the injustices felt by millions.
Racism isn't just in Minneapolis, racism is everywhere. And everything isn't okay nationally, and it's not okay in New Haven either.
Mayor Ellicrow said the city is going to take concrete action to bring about change. He discussed moving forward with the long-awaited Civilian Review Board, addressing police and jurisdiction issues and community policing.
I care, and am deeply committed to doing the right thing, to addressing police brutality and systematic racism. And I'm listening.
Back out here in front of the police department, you could see a message of thanks from the community remains on the sidewalk. Now, no one was injured during these protests, and there were no arrests. The police department saying that they didn't want to have the actions of a few outweigh all the good. In New Haven, Dave Puglisi, Fox 61 News.
Dave, thank you. Stamford police joining protesters for a peaceful demonstration there. This photo here posted to the department's Facebook page with the caption saying, in part, "We stand together, united, and believe that there's no place for discrimination and police brutality in America." Stamford police also joining those protesters for that demonstration. We have some news also tonight about West Farms Mall, that the mall will be keeping its doors shut today after a potential riot was planned there. After seeing some social media posts about that event, Fox 61 reached out to the mall and they responded with a statement saying, quote, "We continue to partner with local law enforcement and have determined to close the center out of an abundance of caution." Officials say that they'll keep the community informed of their reopening plans.